citizens. Well, attorneys general across the U.S. from more than a dozen U.S. states are slamming the order as unconstitutional, un-American and unlawful. Portions of it have already been limited by federal judges, and it could end up in the Supreme Court. Well, Pate is a criminal defense and constitutional law attorney. He joins me now, and we were just listening to Boris Johnson there, and he said he had spoken to his counterparts in the U.S. and they had said British citizens are welcome, even dual nationality citizens, yes. Somali Brits, Iraqi Brits. Now that seems to be a bit different to what we've heard before. There seems to be sort of a very ad hoc nature to this executive order.
There is an incredible amount of inconsistency because none of what he said is in the actual executive order. The problem with this order, aside from the politics of it, how can you enforce it in a way that's going to be effective, fair, and consistent with constitutional safeguards if you are leaving these decisions to people who are on the ground, customs agents at the airport, people within the White House who don't necessarily have direction from legal counsel as to what is and what is not okay with the law and the Constitution?
Okay, so explain to us first broadly how it is the president has such far-reaching broad powers here.
Sure. I mean, back up a second. In the United States, under our Constitution, we have separation of powers. We have Congress who writes the laws, the president and the executive agencies that he oversees, they enforce the laws, and of course the courts interpret those laws. Congress has written a number of different laws reflecting their policy on immigration. Now, it's up to the president as to how he enforces those laws through the Department of State, Homeland Security, and the other federal agencies. He has a lot of discretion to determine who can and cannot come into the United States as long as he exercises that discretion consistent with the laws that Congress wrote. And one of the problems that have been brought up in these lawsuits is what he is doing is discriminating against certain people in a way that's inconsistent with those laws.
So the executive order is not unconstitutional, it's perhaps the implementation of it
right.
that could be seen as unconstitutional.
That's the way I see it. In the ACLU lawsuits that have been effective so far in at least stopping the removal of these individuals have focused on people who have legal status here. Either they had a visa and they were on their way to this country, they'd already been approved, already been vetted, or they were green card holders, people who had legal permanent residence. I think the way that it's being enforced, especially in such an arbitrary way, can lead to constitutional problems. First Amendment problem, an establishment clause standard. If the president, by the way they're implementing this order, is going to discriminate against a certain group of people based upon religion or national origin, that can create constitutional problems.
So you're saying, though, if it's perceived as a Muslim ban or something like
well,
that?
In effect, it's a Muslim ban. I mean, how it's perceived is different. I know the argument that the ACLU and others want to make is don't just read the order, listen to what he says. Because what President Trump has said about what he intended to do with this order during the campaign and early on in the administration was to ban a particular group of people. So you look at what he's doing under the order, you look at what's actually in the order, and you listen to what he says. If all of that combined is creating a policy that's inconsistent with the First Amendment, there's a problem.
Very quickly, how long do you think all of these lawsuits are going to wrap up?
Oh, it can take months. It could take more than a year because it's not just that district judge who's looking at it now. It's going to go up to the Court of Appeals and then eventually, almost certainly, the Supreme Court.
Okay, that's fascinating stuff. Pate, thanks so much.
Thank you, Robin.